joint after aid, trade, and consumer protection. I always say it so fast. I just want to say DATCP. Anyway, Michelle's here, not willing to listen to me not get their name right, but here to talk about something that, I don't know, it's been a long time since we've had this discussion, but on a scam alert, check washing. It might not be what you think it is, or it's totally what you think it is. I'm first off, who's writing checks? Which I said I wasn't going to ask you, and I'm not going to. But people do write checks. What is happening here? If people who may not even know what a check is.
Well, if I have to define a check, we're in the wrong class. But you know, that form of monetary payment, that's paper, comes from your bank, and you give it to someone else. So yes, you've written a check out of your checking account. Some people have their checking account tied to their savings account, so this can be really important for those individuals that have that security built in place so they don't have overdraft, the overdraft protection exactly. But you write that check and you send it off into the world to pay the bill or whomever it is you're going to pay. That check's intercepted by a scammer or con artist, however you want to label them. And they can do one of two processes. They can use chemicals to wash the check and get the ink off of it so they can write in a new name and then write in a new amount. That's where this comes in if you have overdraft protection and are tied to your savings account and not just the limits of your checking account there. I've heard of a story where someone was to receive a check for $1,000. It never came. It had been intercepted, and the individual wrote it for $10,000. So now you really have an issue that you're having to deal with, getting the police involved in things. But that's the way it happens. It's the chemical process. The other way that's more advanced is that they don't really they intercept the check, but they recreate it using the routing number and the bank account number and just recreate it digitally and put in the amounts there. Either way, it's defined as check washing.
And it's something that it had declined, right? I mean, that people had switched to different ways of paying stuff, so maybe some declined, but that doesn't mean it's ended.
No.
It's still there.
It has come back, actually, to where we're talking about it again because people's mail is being intercepted again. We're hearing a lot of that from different postal contacts that we have. Whether that's because people have learned some of the protections around some of the peer-to-peer payment methods and have backed away from that. I don't know why, or some of the protections on making sure your computer's up to date with the digital, or others just want to receive a check. You know, I mean, some traditional forms of payment are pay online or pay by check, and who knows why that is, but we are seeing an increase there.
All right, well, let's get into protecting yourself. You kind of mentioned a few things already, but if we're really going to reduce the risk in something like this happening, there's some ways to deal with this. What would you recommend?
So one way is think about how you're actually transmitting that check. Don't put it in the box outside, the mailbox outside with the flag up for anyone to just grab it.
But it's so convenient.
It is convenient, and that little red flag sends out a signal to everybody driving by and not just the postal person. So try and take it to the post office, walk it inside, drop it, at minimum use their blue boxes. We even have backed away a little bit about the random blue boxes that are out there. Postals pick them up, but we've seen some issues with that where postal workers are getting confronted. So we want to be careful there. Retrieve your mail frequently. Make sure you're getting your mail. So if you're receiving a check, it's not being intercepted on you. If you're leaving town, put that hold on your mail so it's not collecting in the box, or be sure you have that really trusted friend or family member picking it up for you. So that's all on the interception side of things. You can definitely talk to your bank, you know, to see if when you're on vacation there's any holds, if you want to, on your account that they can do just to be sure, but you need to make sure all your checks are clear and your bills are going to get paid. But the other method that we have is to use a gel pen. This, if it's marked as prevent check washing, which many are using that tagline now and are tested, the gel pen ink is not foolproof, but it's supposed to be more prevented from the chemical wash. more resistant to chemical
Sure.
washing. And so you want to be sure that you're using that. Go out, buy yourself one, get one at an event that different consumer protection organizations have them available. And be sure you keep it with the checkbook. You know, don't just sign all your holiday cards with it. Keep it with the checkbook and use it to write those checks.
Who knew? Keep the gel pen together with the checkbook. Gosh, that just sounds like my mom's purse and everything that was in it, including that. No, it's good information. If somebody thinks that they've been involved in a scam, regardless if they're not even sure if it's check washing, they're like, hey, I had this check, it got altered. What would you like people to do in that moment?
So in that moment, you find out about it. Get to your bank right away and see if they can get involved. And likely you're going to have to involve law enforcement because someone has now committed fraud against you and your checks. I mean, this is a form of identity theft, and there's probably something to trace there because it's a check, and that's more trackable than cryptocurrency. So get it reported. But then call consumer protection so we can help remind you of all the steps to protect your identity that could be tied to this in a different way.
There's nothing wrong with writing checks and doing all of that, but you just got to keep in mind and these are pretty easy things, pretty easy tips here to help you make sure that you do it. And if you don't do it very often, boy, I'd just drop it right in take it to the post office directly. It just seems like the better play for getting it out there. Doesn't mean on the other end that it still doesn't get picked up, but you know.
Well, a lot of places you can drop it off at the place too. If it's really your local bills and utility and insurance and stuff, they have their own boxes that you can just go through and drop them off and say hi.
Yeah, we have it at City Hall here, so I mean, it makes sense that just take it to the source. Just a lot easier. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I appreciate the help as always. Very interesting, but we've got some steps for you to stay safe. And check out that website too for more information. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.